Today, Israel's Netanyahu condemns support for a Palestinian state at the UN. Visual evidence upends Israel's official story for a deadly attack on a Gaza hospital. Trump says there will be others after Comey's indictment, before he headed to the Ryder Cup. It's Saturday, September 27th. This is Reuters World News, bringing you everything you need to know from the front lines in 10 minutes, 7 days a week. I'm Tara Oakes in Liverpool.
The leaders who recognize a Palestinian state this week sent to the Palestinians, it's a very clear message. Murdering Jews pays off.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu slamming Western countries for recognizing a Palestinian state during his speech at the UN General Assembly.
Please, order in hall.
Scores of delegates walked out as Netanyahu took the stage, while some attendees in the balcony gave him a standing ovation. At the same time, thousands of pro-Palestinian protesters blocked traffic near Times Square in New York.
Palestine will be free. Palestine will be free.
Netanyahu vows Israel will keep fighting until Hamas is dismantled and all hostages are freed.
That is why Israel must finish the job.
The speech was broadcast into Gaza via loudspeakers, with Israel hoping that the hostages would hear it. As for charges that Israel is committing genocide in Gaza, Netanyahu says they're baseless. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump says that a deal to end the war could be close. A senior White House official told Reuters that Trump is set to meet Netanyahu in Washington on Monday. And the US has revoked Colombian President Gustavo Petro's visa after he joined a pro-Palestinian protest outside the UN headquarters in Manhattan. Petro calling for a global force to liberate Palestinians. He's accused President Trump of being complicit in genocide and urged American soldiers to disobey Trump's orders. Petro's office and Colombia's foreign ministry did not immediately respond to requests for comment. And for more on everything we've learned from UNGA, listen to today's episode of On Assignment podcast, where we hear from our reporters on the ground about the realities of the UN in the era of Trump. That's available now wherever you get your podcasts. A Reuters analysis of visual evidence and other information about the Israeli attack on a Gaza hospital last month contradicts Israel's explanation of what happened in the deadly strike. The August 25th attack on Nasser Hospital killed 22, including 5 journalists. Israeli forces planned the attack using drone footage which, a military official said, showed a Hamas camera that was the target of the strike. But the visual evidence and other reporting by Reuters established that the camera in the footage actually belonged to the news agency and had long been used by one of its own journalists. The Israeli military official now says that the troops acted without the required approval of the senior regional commander in charge of operations in Gaza. You can read more about this investigation on Reuters.com and the Reuters app.
I'm not scared of Israel. I'm scared of a world that has seemingly lost all sense of humanity.
That's Greta Thunberg speaking to Reuters from aboard a civilian aid flotilla heading towards Gaza. The convoy left Greek waters on Friday, carrying humanitarian supplies and defying Israeli warnings that it would block the boats by any means necessary. Israel says its blockade is aimed at preventing arms from reaching Hamas and has accused flotilla activists of complicity with the militant group. The indictment of former FBI Director James Comey marks the first time the Trump administration has used criminal prosecution against a high-profile political adversary. but it may not be the last.
I would say the Democrats are better than Comey. But no, there'll be others. Look,
The charges stem from Comey's 2020 testimony to Congress about FBI leaks during the 2016 election. Comey says he's innocent and will fight the case. Reporter Andrew Goudsword says what has some legal experts concerned is that Trump has openly demanded these charges and fired prosecutors who questioned the case.
We do know from the public record and from statements that Trump has made that there were real concerns about this case within the Justice Department, and it was brought anyway. So it looks like we have a criminal case that was ordered up essentially by the White House and the president, and that is a stark departure from the way the Justice Department has traditionally operated for a long time. But there are a lot of legal experts who think because of the way this case developed and because of concerns about the lack of evidence here, that maybe it won't reach a trial, that maybe a judge will decide that either it's insufficient to be presented to a jury at a trial, or that because of the evidence of political bias or motivation when bringing these charges, that may be reasons throughout the case. Now, normally that sort of argument is really hard for a defense lawyer to win on, but there are legal experts who think, in this particular case, that Comey may have an argument that could get this case thrown out before trial.
The US Supreme Court has allowed the Trump administration to block $4 billion in foreign aid, despite Congress having already approved the funds. The court says that aid groups challenging the move may lack legal standing, and warns that forcing the administration to spend the funds could interfere with the president's foreign affairs powers. Prominent black activist Assata Shakur has died in Cuba at 78. She was a fugitive for decades, convicted in the killing of a New Jersey state trooper, but seen by many as a symbol of resistance. Cuba says she died of natural causes. The Ryder Cup has kicked off with a dramatic start and a surprise appearance by President Donald Trump. He showed up at Bethpage Black in New York to support Team USA. But so far, it's been Europe stealing the spotlight, dominating both the morning and afternoon sessions, with standout performances from Jon Rahm and Tommy Fleetwood. But the Europeans aren't just battling the American team. Our senior sports editor, Ocean Shine, has more.
The European team are hoping they can charm their way into the hearts of the American crowd, but I don't fancy their chances. They know they've got a massive job ahead of them, so much so, in fact, that they've been practicing with virtual reality headsets to have sort of people screaming abuse and cheering against them just to try and get used to that intensity of atmosphere.
The Women's Rugby World Cup final is also this weekend, and it's a story of grit versus resources. Canada, a semi-professional team that's crowdfunded its way to the top, is taking on England.
A semi-professional team operating on a shoestring budget is about to take on the best prepared, best funded outfit women's rugby's ever seen, all in front of 82,000 fans at a sold-out stadium with millions more watching at home on TV. Most of the players have got side gigs, even just to sort of pay their way to keep playing this sport. Playing England, who are pretty much all on professional contracts. But Canada, they don't see themselves as outsiders. They don't like to be branded as amateurs. They're very much up for this one. They're ranked number 2 in the world, despite all their monetary disadvantages. So it's really going to be a cracking match to decide who is the preeminent women's rugby side in the world this year.
And for today's recommended read, a look at how ICE tactics are inflaming tensions in some US cities. Trump aims to deport record numbers of immigrants living in the US illegally, framing the push around criminals, but arresting many without criminal records. Residents in Democrat-leaning metro areas have pushed back in recent months. You can read the story by following the link in the pod description. For more on any of the stories from today, check out Reuters.com or the Reuters app. Don't forget to follow us on your favourite podcast player, and if you're listening on a smart speaker, just ask for the latest news from Reuters, 7 days a week. We'll be back tomorrow with our daily headline show.